This little volume, the result of meditation and experience, is not intended as an exhaustive treatise on the much written upon subject of the power of thought. It is suggestive rather than explanatory, its object being to stimulate men and women to the discovery and perception of the truth that they themselves are makers of themselves, by virtue of the thoughts which they choose and encourage, that mind is the master weaver, both of the inner garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance, and that, as they may have hitherto woven in ignorance and pain, they may now weave in enlightenment and happiness, as a man thinketh. Thought and character. The aphorism, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he," not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from, and could not be without, the seed, so every aspect of a man springs from the hidden seeds of thought, and could not have appeared without them. This applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. Thought in the mind hath made us. What we are by thought was wrought and built. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him, as comes the wheel the ox behind. If one endure in purity of thought, joy follows him, as his own shadow, sure. Man is a growth by law, and not a creation by artifice, and cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking, the effect of long-cherished association with godlike thoughts. An ignoble and bestial character, by the same process, is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thoughts he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes are all the grades of character, and man is their maker and master. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or more fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation, and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills.
See, and that's an important point. This is where the divergent thinking of black and red pill comes in. Because if you head down the nihilism and the same path of black pill thinking of essentially everything is predetermined. If I don't have a jawline that looks like this, if I'm not this tall, if I don't have XYZ, then everything is useless. Trying, what's the point? But what's important to keep in mind is that good thoughts will follow good actions, which follow good outcomes. The problem is so many men today give up before even starting because they see it as like an insurmountable mountain to climb when they look at some guy that's like 6'6", jacked as hell, millionaire, has everything in life, right? Got blessed with good genes, whatever it is, man. And you look at yourself and you're nowhere near where this man is, but you're trying to compare a complete wall, right, with your one brick at a time that you need to lay to build up your own wall as well. Part of the problem that stops people from getting to their goals is that they look at a finished product and they think they themselves should start in a finished state also. But you don't look at, for example, I like the Amazon picture the most, where it shows Jeff Bezos in his first office where it had Amazon, a little curtain spray painted Amazon. That's where he started, to like the megalopolis of whatever Amazon HQ looks like. Well, you do the same thing when you try to create a goal in your head and use someone as an example. And then the first thing you do is get insecurities about how you can never reach that state, or that's too high. And then it stops you from even taking the first step. You become discouraged. And that shouldn't be how you use comparisons. You should use them as motivations of what could be, what your potential may be one day. And that if you strive harder and harder towards the goal, that you will inevitably end up somewhere there along the way. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. You don't have to be Mr. Olympia if you want to have an amazing body. You don't have to look up or be like Arnold in every sense of the word. You could make your own path in life, man, and be very content and very happy with purpose, etc., everything. Simply following a self-belief that I can do this, I am great, I do deserve it all, and then taking the necessary steps forward, 1 foot at a time. Don't be discouraged, guys. Everybody starts somewhere, dude. Total ownership. Don't stay victim in your own mind, or you'll be a victim in your life. Yes, you'll be a prisoner of life, man. That's essentially what you become. Your own thoughts imprison you in mediocrity. That's where you'll end up in life, with nothing. The only limiter in your life is literally the thing in between your ears, dude. It's the voices and the conversations you have with yourself. That's the difference between like a champion and everybody else, is that they had belief and they put that into action. You can call it delusion too. Just this innately massive amount of self-belief that I can overcome and achieve anything and everything. And that's how these people get ahead. That's like the literal difference between a champion and not, is that they believed more. They thought they were capable. They thought it was theirs. They deserved to have it. They dream of it. Every time they go to bed, that's all they eat, think, and sleep is their goals. Inevitably, the mind starts working in your favor. As you think, so you will become. If you think disgusting thoughts of yourself, you will become a disgusting person. If you think positive thoughts of yourself, if you see yourself in a positive light, your body starts to get to work, man. Your mind, everything, solutions start coming to you. You become the very person you think of being. Thoughts are some of the most powerful things in the world. Why do you think so many people use social media to escape their own brain, their own negative thoughts about themselves? That's coping.
Man is always the master, even in his weaker and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master. And man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being, if he will dig deep into the mine of his soul, and that he is the maker of his character, the molder of his life, and the builder of his destiny. He may unerringly prove if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing his every experience.
My girlfriend has many insecurities, controlling, invading my privacy, WhatsApp messages, almost not allowing me to talk to any girl. She wouldn't change her behavior. Any thought on how to regain control/frame? That issue is not actually your problem to regain frame from. It's not your frame that's the issue. It's an insecurity within her that's stemming so much from whatever childhood trauma, her past boyfriends, and that's you now having to deal with said trauma. These are the hoops you're jumping through because of whatever happened in her past. Normally, I would tell you that you need to cut loose and run, because this isn't going to get easier unless you tell her, hey, go get some therapy. You need to work on your issues. Some of these stemming potentially from childhood, from her parents. And now you're left to deal with it, and you're not equipped to deal with such a thing. And it's causing friction in your relationship. Ultimately will lead to its demise. Like, I can guarantee you that this behavior will start to manifest in more nefarious ways to the point where your relationship with this woman will end one day, because she's going to keep digging herself down the hole. And there's nothing you can really do. You can try to coddle her. You can try to give her access to your phone. You can try to make her feel as comfortable as you possibly can, but you're not addressing the root cause of her insecurity, which is whatever trauma that's like latched in her brain. So even if you do all these things, even if you bend backwards, it's all for naught, because in her mind, she'll go, well, he gave me access to his phone, but he could still be sneaking around. What if he has a work phone hidden at work? Why is that girl looking at him like that? Does she know him, right? It becomes irrational. Her insecurities are irrational, no matter how rational you act to take care of her and, instill some confidence that you're not going to do essentially what she's irrationally thinking you're going to do. That's unfortunate here, man. That's an uphill battle. Doesn't matter how tight your frame is, how much you coddle her, how red-pilled your thinking is, and you do everything right. The answer is you can't do anything right by her because the trauma stems from within. I would advise, brother, that you tell her to get therapy, talk to someone about her problems. And if she refuses that, you need to give her an ultimatum. Like, I cannot be with somebody that's so self-destructive, causing friction in the relationship, and ultimately is going to sabotage it. I can't invest in somebody like this unless they're showing me improvement. You got to lay it all out in a conversation to her, or you're going to be doomed. I guarantee you your relationship is doomed unless you do this. You have to put your foot down and be willing to walk away. Don't do this ultimatum with a half-assed, oh my God, she says she's going to change, doesn't. And then you let her come back into your life like nothing's ever happened, and then the insecurities stem up, again, when you act in, not even in a nefarious fashion, but you're just living life, walking somewhere, some woman looks at you, and then boom, her insecurity spikes again, and it comes up again. If you really love her, tell her to get therapy, give her a chance to change. If she doesn't, stay firm in your ultimatum and walk away. That's the best thing you can do for yourself and for her. Bo, what is your advice for married men with children? How do you keep the wife interested in you like she was when you were by yourself and didn't see her every day? Yeah, that's essentially on hard mode, brother. One way to do that is never letting yourself go. Always teaching yourself new hobbies. You have to seem like that interesting guy she just met every day. Every day, work on improving yourself. What happens when you get in a relationship? It's like the relationship weight people gain. They get comfortable. They start to show more of themselves, right? Think about using the bathroom in front of your significant other or whatever else you would never dare think of doing when you first met. When you become that close and that intimate and you're essentially merging your lives together, that's when your wife loses interest. You have to separate yourself out from her again in a healthy way where you take time out of your day to be your own person. Then you choose to take her along for the ride on dates with your new activity, right? Or show her improvement in yourself, reading books, talking about interesting things, go to the gym, etc. You have to keep this up forever. And she has to be keeping up on her end of the deal. It's not just you that has to keep improving and holding your attention, man. She has to do the same thing. She has to keep her weight down. She has to constantly learn new things that make you attracted to her. And she has to keep being interesting as well. It's not a one-way street. It's just don't fall into the relationship trappings that most people go through of becoming super comfortable, losing their identity in their partner, not seemingly being interesting enough anymore because they do nothing by themselves. A little distance is also a great thing. I understand you have kids and you live together, but you do have to plan time away from them, your family, maybe an hour or two a day, something. Always make plans to go out on your own and do whatever it is that you want to do. Go running, go do whatever, man. But you can't be attached to the hip to your partner 24/7. Familiarity will breed exactly the thing you fear. Yeah, but don't fear it, dude. Marriage isn't something you need to fear. It's just you have to fine tune your game. Understand that you're playing on hard mode just because of how much access to your time your woman has to you, and adjust accordingly.
Even to the most trivial everyday occurrence as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself which is understanding, wisdom, power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute that he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can a man enter the door of the temple of knowledge. Effect of thought on circumstances. Man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild, but whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein, and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life. He also reveals within himself the laws of thought and understands with ever-increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, circumstances, and destiny. Thought and character are one, and as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This does not mean that a man's circumstances at any given time are an indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within himself that, for the time being, they are indispensable to his development. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him here, and in the arrangement of his life there is no element of chance, but all is the result of a law which cannot err. This is just as true of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are contented with them.
Listen.
As a progressive and evolving being, man is where he is that he may learn, that he may grow. And as he learns the spiritual lesson which any circumstance contains for him, it passes away and gives place to other circumstances. Man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions, but when he realizes that
And that's the world we live in today, that you are essentially the product of your environment, first and foremost, and that there is no way you can change that. Everybody externalizes all their problems in the world today. The victimhood mentality, the I have no power over my own life, that the system is against me. The reason for my circumstances is the system. I like your channel. I'm on the grind of self-improvement. You're motivating AF. Thanks, brother. Glad to have you here.
he is a creative power, and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds of his being out of...
By the way, and that's a huge reason for the way the narrative is set up today. Imagine being told that you're a victim of your circumstance. Imagine being told by the powers to be at the top that the system itself is broken. That is why you're in the position you are, and it's helpless. Imagine being told this, that from childbirth, that you'll never be able to make it to the tippy top of society because you don't have what they do, right? People are being fed this narrative, this idea that you can externalize all your shortcomings in life and that it's out of your control. This is a form of control. This is how the government controls people. This is how everything you see in the culture, everything you see on the radical ends of the political spectrum, everybody is being scared, being fear-mongered. They're playing on your emotions. They're telling you you're not worth anything. They're telling you that the powers to be, that the system is this gargantuan thing, and that you, a tiny person, cannot affect change, that you were born into a system you'll never be able to change, right? That you can't change your own circumstances. That's how little you matter. This is a form of control. You can't have people thinking that their circumstances are simply just what's in between their ears. You can't have anybody believing in themselves. Imagine if you had millions of men, millions of young men believing that they could affect change in the system, believing that the most powerful thing that can affect the most change in their lives is their self-belief in themselves. Their critical thinking. Imagine that. Nope. You got to tell people, no, bro, you're in the position you're in. You're making the money you're making. You're lonely in the way you're lonely, all because of society. It's all messed up. Society is messed up. Don't worry, you can't make a damn change about it. And then while we're at it, to make sure you don't self-improve, to make sure you don't take care of yourself, we're going to tell you what's the point. We're going to tell you it's not worth it anymore. For who? Who are you going to self-improve for? Not the self. Boom, externalize something. I don't want to self-improve because modern women. I don't want to self-improve because corporations are evil. I don't want to self-improve because whatever, dude. And then you're stuck in the exact position they want you to be stuck in. That's NPC level thinking. They've got you locked down tight, insecure, all for control.
Which circumstances grow, he then becomes the rightful master of himself. That circumstances grow out of thought every man knows who has for any length of time practiced self-control and self-purification, for he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances has been in exact ratio with his altered mental condition. So true is this, that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy the defects in his character and makes swift and marked progress, he passes rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes. The soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, and also that which...
Soul attracts that which it secretly harbors. I feel like that is an accurate representation of black pill thinking, where they're stuck in a loop of the nihilistic thinking, I don't know, oh my God, I don't have a Chad job, can never get a girl, therefore they behave in the exact manner that makes them creepy and they'll never get women. Instead of self-improving, right, instead of making yourself better day by day, they literally partake in the very activities and the lifestyle that makes them unattractive to the opposite sex. Meanwhile, they use that as a confirmation for why they're not getting women. Imagine indulging in the very things that women don't find attractive, right? And having a negative persona and exhibiting negative energy when you essentially go out in public and speak to other people, other women, and then you use that as a confirmation to why your ideology is correct, right? I went out there and I talked to girls in my creepy manner, therefore they didn't talk to me back, and see, my ideology is correct. Black pill thinking is correct. That's not the truth. You can't go out there, dude, overweight as hell, pimply face, haven't ran a mile in years, don't work out. All you do is you look like Casper. You sit in your room all day playing video games. Then you want to go out and meet some chick that's hot and you expect them to have an inviting energy about you when you haven't put in any work or self-respect. It's seen on you. You give off an aura of self-hatred. People can smell it on you. Thank you, Gorbachev. Look the name. Only the other sex can be allowed mediocrity. We have to all become the best versions of ourselves. Just 1% better every day will help escape the matrix. 100%. That's another thing. A lot of guys, like they'll say, there's no point in self-improvement because women aren't worth it. You can, like, why don't you tell on yourself, bro, of how fragile your sense of thinking is and how jaded you are of women? Because when you equate improving yourself for women, you failed before you've ever started. The self-improvement is all about the self, man. It's making yourself feel good mentally, physically, spiritually. When you do all those three things and they align perfectly in your life, guess what starts to happen? People magnetize to you, men and women. Doors start opening up. People want to come up and talk to you. There's an aura, man, when you walk around in public and you're at peace physically, spiritually, and mentally, and you're finally living your self-image actualized, that you give off a certain energy that magnetize. They want to talk to you. They want to know who you are. You're smiling. You're happy. You're confident. You're not looking for attention. You're not walking up to people with weird energy. You're just saying hi. You're outcome independent by nature. It's so attractive. You see it in people naturally. You know what we call that? The word for that is called charisma. Does the feeling good come after the work you put in? Always. It's always the end product. It's never in the beginning.
It fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspirations. It falls to the level of its unchastened desires. And circumstances are the means by which the soul receives its own. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into act and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstance. Mm-hmm. Good thoughts bear good fruit. Bad thoughts, bad fruit.
Preach.
The outer world of circumstance shapes itself to the inner world of thought, and both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate good of the individual. As the reaper of his own harvest, man learns both by suffering and bliss. Following the inmost desires, aspirations, thoughts by which he allows himself to be dominated, pursuing the will-o'-the-wisps of impure imaginings, or steadfastly walking the highway of strong and high endeavor, a man at last arrives at their fruition and fulfillment in the outer conditions of his life.
Mike, thank you so much for the 10. Got a $4 raise. Black pill is nonsense. I'm the master of my life. Preach. That's essentially all you got to say about the black pill. You do control your life. You are the master. And you can do anything within reason, of course. Don't try to be an NBA player when you're 5'2". But you can come up with a game plan in life. Execute it simply by believing yourself and consistency, guys. Independent Puppy, how are you? Thank you so much for the 10. Hustle, boys. This guy's good, but if you're not watching this while making money or improving yourself, log off. I agree. The whole point of the channel, guys, is to get to a point where we're all making money. We're all able to sustain ourselves and everybody we love. Take what you see on this channel, and once you learn, the message gets repeated, boys. We want to get you essentially on the channel for an interview on Locals and show us how you succeeded in life. That's what we're really aiming for. So if you haven't already, please join Locals. I do want to hear from you guys. We'll have a ton of interviews coming up, but anything you need to know on life, dating, whatever has already been said, boys. We're moving in a new direction. It's time to make change.
The laws of growth and adjustment everywhere obtains. A man does not come to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Nor does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into crime by stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been secretly fostered in the heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstance does not make the man. It reveals him to himself. No such conditions can exist as descending into vice and its attendant sufferings apart from vicious inclinations, or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspirations. And man, therefore, as lord and master of thought, is the maker of himself, the shaper and author of environment. Even at birth the soul comes to its own, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage it attracts those combinations of conditions which reveal itself, which are the reflections of its own purity and impurity, its strength and weakness. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Their whims, fancies, and ambitions are thwarted at every step, but their inmost thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, be it foul or clean. The divinity that shapes our ends is in ourselves. It is our very self. Only himself manacles man. Thought and action are the jailers of fate. They imprison, being base. They are also the angels of freedom. They liberate, being noble. Not what he wishes and prays for does a man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are only gratified in answer when they harmonize with his thoughts and actions. In the light of this truth, what then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time he is nourishing and preserving its cause in his heart. That cause may take the form of a conscious vice or an unconscious weakness, but whatever it is, it stubbornly retards the efforts of its possessor and thus calls aloud for remedy. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. The man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is as true of earthly as of heavenly beings. Even the man whose sole object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object. And how much more so he who would realize a strong and well-poised life? Here is a man who is wretchedly poor. He is extremely anxious that his surroundings and home comforts should be improved, yet all the time he shirks his work and considers he is justified in trying to deceive his employer on the ground of the insufficiency of his wages. Such a man does not understand the simplest rudiments of those principles which are the basis of true prosperity, and is not only totally unfitted to rise out of his wretchedness, but is actually attracting himself a still deeper wretchedness by dwelling in and acting out indolent, deceptive, and unmanly thoughts. Here is a rich man who is the victim of a painful and persistent disease as the result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify his taste for rich and unnatural viands and have his health as well. Such a man is totally unfit to have health because he has not yet learned the first principles of a healthy life.
There it is.
Here is an employer of labor who adopts crooked measures to avoid paying the regulation wage and, in the hope of making larger profits, reduces the wages of his workpeople. Such a man is altogether unfitted for prosperity, and when he finds himself bankrupt, both as regards reputation and riches, he blames circumstances, not knowing that he is the sole author of his condition. I have introduced these three cases merely as illustrative of the truth that man is the causer, though nearly always is unconsciously, of his circumstances, and that whilst aiming at a good end, he is continually frustrating its accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which cannot possibly harmonize with that end. Such cases could be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but this is not necessary, as the listener can, if he so resolves, trace the action of the laws of thought in his own mind and life, and until this is done, mere external facts cannot serve as a ground of reasoning. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and the conditions of happiness vary so vastly with individuals, that a man's entire soul condition, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged by another from the external aspect of his life alone. A man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth.
Gorbachev, thanks, brother. Says all improving information is there to help craft the program you create for yourself. The end game isn't happiness. Happiness comes from the journey on the way to who your true self is when you look in the mirror. Yes, I agree with that statement 1000%. Dude, happiness is in the process. I don't think people understand that concept too. I think people have the mentality of, if I just work hard enough, I get to an end point where I could just kick my feet up and relax. And that doesn't make anybody happy, because a man's constantly searching for meaning, for purpose. You constantly have to build another obstacle in your life once you've conquered the other one. You need to understand that the best part of life is the journey. You know, the days that you hate waking up running, the days that you hate putting in work to start your business, your side hustle. The fondest memories you'll have in life will be the ones where you work the hardest slaving away at your dream. It won't be when you're sitting over there with your legs kicked up in a margarita in hand or a mojito on the beach at how you have arrived at your vision. That's not how this works, dude. You're going to be sitting there and content for a second that, hey, this is you. All your hard work has culminated into this exact point in time that you've always dreamed of getting to. What's next in life? The most fulfilling part is the grind, the everyday that you put in to get there. It's not actually arriving.
But the conclusion usually formed that the one man fails because of his particular honesty, and that the other prospers because of his particular dishonesty, is the result of a superficial judgment which assumes that the dishonest man is almost totally corrupt, and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. In the light of a deeper knowledge and wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have some admirable virtues which the other does not possess, and the honest man obnoxious vices which are absent in the others. The honest man reaps the good results of his honest thoughts and acts. He also brings upon himself the sufferings which his vices produce. The dishonest man likewise garners his own suffering and happiness. It is pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of one's virtue, But not until a man has extirpated every sickly, bitter, and impure thought from his mind, and washed every sinful stain from his soul, can he be in a position to know and declare that his sufferings are the result of his good and not of his bad qualities. And on the way to, yet long before he has reached that supreme perfection, he will have found, working in his mind and life, the great law which is absolutely just, and which cannot therefore give good for evil, evil for good. Possessed of such knowledge, he will then know, looking back upon his past ignorance and blindness, that his life is and always was justly ordered, and that all his past experiences, good and bad, were the equitable outworking of his evolving yet unevolved self. Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. This is but saying that nothing can come from corn but corn, nothing from nettles but nettles. Men understand this law in the natural world and work with it, but few understand it in the mental and moral world, though its operation there is just as simple and undeviating, and they therefore do not cooperate with it. Suffering is always the effect of wrong thought in some direction. It is an indication that the individual is out of harmony with himself, with the law of his being. The sole and supreme use of suffering is to purify, to burn out all that is useless and impure. Suffering ceases for him who is pure. There could be no object in burning gold after the dross had been removed, and a perfectly pure and enlightened being could not suffer. The circumstances which a man encounters with suffering are the result of his own mental inharmony. The circumstances which a man encounters with blessedness are the result of his own mental harmony. Blessedness, not material possessions, is the measure of right thought. Wretchedness, not lack of material possessions, is the measure of wrong thought. A man may be cursed and rich. He may be blessed and poor. Blessedness and riches are only joined together when the riches are rightly and wisely used, and the poor man only descends into wretchedness when he regards his lot as a burden unjustly imposed. Indigence and indulgence are the two extremes of wretchedness. They are both equally unnatural and the result of mental disorder.
So the goal is, what kind of suffering will make me happy? For men, I would say physical suffering, doing a physical activity. You know, suffering and happiness are like two opposites, right? You can't really understand what happy is and what it means unless you've suffered in the past. Like, you don't know how painful a loss is until you've won and felt what winning's like. You absolutely need to manufacture struggle and suffering in your life in order to attain happiness. The number one problem we have today in the West is that we've built such comfortable, soft lives for ourselves, and we've eliminated any form of struggle that even happiness becomes numb. We no longer feel the difference because we don't suffer, we don't struggle anymore day to day. You wake up in a plush bed. Some people have completely given up physically testing their bodies whatsoever. They go throughout the day eating all the worst foods, all the snacks. They give into all the impulses, right? All the dopamine hits you used to get from having candy, all that stuff no longer affects you. You're numb to it. So imagine years of living like that. And then poof, this person says, I'm depressed. I'm sad about my life. The world feels numb. I don't know what to do. Right? This is most of the kinds of depression that people have today is in some form self-imposed because they've softened their lives up so much. They no longer seek struggle, that they've become numb to everything. And instead of remanufacturing a form of struggle and strife in your life through physical exercise, that's the easiest for men and women. But if you do not reintroduce this, you can't feel happy about the little things you used to be anymore. You essentially have like doped your brain up on dopamine. You've short-circuited your brain on pleasure so much that you can't even feel pleasure anymore for things that you used to, like grabbing a little Kit Kat, bro, to reward yourself after running 10 miles. Nothing. You need packs of them. That still doesn't do it. Now you chug sodas, 2-liter sodas all day. It's nuts, man. You sleep in the softest bed, it starts to hurt you. Oh my God, my neck is creaking. My pillows suck. My bed isn't soft anymore. Go run 10 miles, go hike 20 miles. You will return at the end of the day taking a hot shower and saying you have the softest bed in the world. If I didn't work and sat at home all day watching TV, I'd get depressed too. We aren't a species meant to sit around and do nothing physically active. 100%, man. You have to get up and move. Movement is life, fellas. It's so important for you to do a physical activity. That is why you're so stressed. Like, people that play video games for multiple hours a day are extremely stressed out. Internally, they have a lot of anxiety, a lot of rage, a lot of anger that they don't get out in physically expending themselves. There's a lot of internal turmoil there. Because as a man, you need to get up, man. You need to be moving. You need to do something with yourself. Aim for a goal physically. It could be just a walk a day, man. That's how you have to get started. If you're super overweight and haven't done anything, just go out for a walk, brother. 15 minutes. Just wake up and go walking. Ponder in your head, life, where you want to go, what you want to do, what do you want to be remembered for. It starts with the walk. Then when you feel good enough and you start increasing the distance, maybe jog a little bit. Jog for 60 seconds in your walk. It's baby steps. At one point, just trust the process that in 1 year, you'll go from I can barely walk for 10 minutes because the pain of my body being atrophied from sitting at home all day transforms into I'm running 10 miles every morning now and I feel great, man. Life is amazing. Atomic Habits, another book that's amazing for everybody to read.
A man is not rightly conditioned until he is a happy, healthy, and prosperous being, and happiness, health, and prosperity are the result of a harmonious adjustment of the inner with the outer, of the man
Indeed.
with his surroundings. A man not only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revile and commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates his life, and as he adapts his mind to that regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition and builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts, ceases to kick against circumstances, but begins to use them as aids to his more rapid progress and as a means of discovering the hidden powers and possibilities within himself.
Yep.
Law, not confusion, is the dominating principle in the universe. Justice, not injustice, is the soul and substance of life, and righteousness, not corruption, is the molding and moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right, and during the process of putting himself right, he will find that as he alters his thoughts toward things and other people will alter towards him. The proof of this truth is in every person, and it therefore admits of easy investigation by systematic introspection and self-analysis. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will effect in the material conditions of his life. Men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. Bestial thoughts crystallize into habits of drunkenness and sensuality, which solidify into circumstances of destitution and disease. Impure thoughts of every kind crystallize into enervating and confusing habits, which solidify into distracting and adverse circumstances. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision crystallize into weak, unmanly, and irresolute habits, which solidify into circumstances of failure, indigence, and slavish dependence. Lazy thoughts crystallize into habits of uncleanliness and dishonesty, which solidify into circumstances of foulness and beggary. Hateful and condemnatory thoughts crystallize into habits of accusation and violence, which solidify into circumstances of injury and persecution. Selfish thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of self-seeking, which solidify into circumstances more or less distressing. On the other hand, beautiful thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of grace and kindliness, which solidify into genial and sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts crystallize into habits of temperance and...
Just got an epiphany. If you want friends, you have to become the person people want to be friends with. Dude, that's literally the key to life. You are that which you attract, right? Like, become that, essentially. Harbor that kind of thinking inside yourself. Who would you want to be friends with? You want to be friends with essentially the man you dream of being? The man you dream of being does behave in certain ways that you don't at the moment, whether he's taking up different sorts of like activities in life. He's teaching himself new books. He's becoming more interesting to talk to, right? He's well versed in a bunch of topics. Teach yourself, become that guy. Smile more, be energetic. You know how you need to behave in order to be more welcoming to people. You have to essentially actualize the person you want to be in order to receive that energy back to you. If you're a friendly person with a lot of knowledge on different topics or whatever, nice energy when you meet people out in person, that person, the only difference is that it's the discipline that carries him to do all those things, right? You're essentially becoming the disciplined version of you. It's not magic, dude. There's no secret sauce here that makes that person unreachable that you're trying to be. It's literally doing small little habits, man. Envision yourself at the end, right? It's visualization technique. Who are you trying to be at the end goal of whatever you dream of being, right? You want to be more charismatic. You want to make more money. You want women to look at you. You want to be more attractive to the world in general, to be on some level where everybody wants to be your friend, right? Okay, snapshot of that guy. What does he look like? What does he do every day? How does he compose himself? What's his character? And start to implement every little thing that person does. It's the hard work. You already know it's there. You know it's hard work. That's what's holding you back. You're afraid to put in the work that would actualize you into being the person you dream of being. You're content. That's the truth. We all are. To a certain extent, we're content with our lives today. We're comfortable enough, right? Growth is painful. You're okay sitting where you're at, man. A ton of us struggle, right, to reach the next level. We plateau because we feel like we're doing enough. We're already trying hard. We've hit a new level and it's cool to stop here, but it isn't. You need to push harder. You need to do more. You need to start behaving the way the man in your dreams behaves. And that becomes your reality. And people will reward you for it by wanting to be in your life. They start magnetizing to you. You'll have incredible conversations with strangers. No ulterior motives. You start living the dream. Dude, this is what the little secret sauce is. You are dreaming about the disciplined version of you. You're not dreaming about some untouchable figure you can never reach. Mr. Perfect. It's just you, brother. Nothing else. It's you with a few modifying habits. That's it. And consistency.
Self-control, which solidify into circumstances of repose.
It's hard to get rid of prawn. I can't fall asleep without a good wank, eh? First of all, that's a cope. You don't need to do that. If you went and ran X amount of miles and got yourself tired, you wouldn't need any of that stuff to fall asleep. That's a symptom of you not getting rid of the energy within you as a man and using adult entertainment as a cope. That's what you're really doing, Frank Castle. You're coping. You want to be the Punisher, dude? Start looking like him. Start running. Start exercising. Start doing a bunch of things Frank Castle was doing. And you won't need to be coping with adult entertainment, some chick getting railed on a screen, so you can go to sleep. Imagine this is what men have been reduced to today. We're enslaved by adult entertainment, where we use it for calming our anxiety. We use it to put us to sleep. Coping. We know it takes away your drive too. Not only does it put him to sleep and pacify him, but it takes away his drive to become something better, dude. He whacks it, goes to sleep, wakes up, energy drained. He has absolutely no drive to do anything, try anything, go talk to anybody, meet anybody new. He goes back, wanks it again, rinse and repeat. His drive as a man diminished. The fire with him diminished because he's an uncontrollable monkey. He can't stop wanking it. This is another form. Why do you think they push all this hypersexualization in society today? It's another form of controlling a man. It's another form of keeping him pacified. Why do you think sexual transmutation is so powerful and starting to reemerge? Semen retention in society starting to reemerge. It's not just a fad, bro. Men have known about protecting their seed, protecting their energy. You don't give that away for free. A lot of people today, a lot of men, I should say, be more specific, a lot of men are spilling their seed for free. Do you know how biologically costly it is to replenish your seed that you're just spilling for free to go to sleep? Come on, dude. Do not let men in the chat get away with, I need to wank it to go to sleep. Please do better, bro. Bust your ass at the gym. I have a heart transplant, so I have to take it. I don't want to hear about your heart transplant. You could sit on your ass and move your arms, do rows, walk on a treadmill, bike, sit down on a little speed bike. You can do something. Wanking it, please, bro. Of all the things you can do to exercise your fire as a man, that should be the last one on your list. You got enough energy to wank it. You can do other things in life.
And peace. Thoughts of courage, self-reliance, and decision crystallize into manly habits which
By the way, don't bullshit us. He's doing it again. Chat, look at him. I work out 2 times a day. If you work out 2 times a day, how do you still have energy to even wank it and go to sleep? If you're telling me you can't sleep without wanking it, you got way too much energy in you. Those workouts are pathetic. Let's be real. We need a lot more intensity in those workouts.
Solidify into circumstances of success, plenty, and freedom. Energetic thoughts crystallize into habits of cleanliness and industry, which solidify into circumstances of pleasantness. Gentle and forgiving thoughts crystallize into habits of gentleness, which solidify into protective and preservative circumstances. Loving and unselfish thoughts crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure and abiding prosperity and true riches. A particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. A man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly, yet surely, shape his circumstances. Nature helps every man to the gratification of the thoughts which he most encourages, and opportunities are presented which will most speedily bring to the surface both the good and evil thoughts. Let a man cease from his sinful thoughts, and all the world will soften towards him and be ready to help him. Let him put away his weakly and sickly thoughts, and lo, opportunities will spring up on every hand to aid his strong resolves. Let him encourage good thoughts, and no hard fate shall bind him down to wretchedness and shame. The world is your kaleidoscope, and the varying combinations of colors which at every succeeding moment it presents to you are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. So you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content in that poor word environment, but spirit scorns it and is free. It masters time, it conquers space, it cows that boastful trickster chance, and bids the tyrant circumstance uncrown and fill a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of a deathless soul, can hew a way to any goal. The walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delays, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. Effective thought on health and the body.
What should I do when I can't see women in any other way than a threat to me? I mean, you have issues that you need to work on, man. It doesn't mean women are the problem. You need to have a conversation with a man, a therapist, a male therapist that can guide you in the right direction, because that's not a healthy view on the world. Yeah, you need therapy, bro. You need to have a real conversation with yourself and not hide from what trauma you've experienced that caused you to think about an entire gender that way, and have a real talk. Don't bullshit yourself. You're externalizing an issue on women when it's coming from within. And by the way, when you do that, you're selling yourself short. You're selling essentially life short for yourself. You're limiting your human experience. Too much manosphere content. Go talk to chicks in real life. 100%. And man, let's talk about the hole. Some of the holes that men go through when watching these manosphere content constantly, all these red pill channels that sort of blame all women, right? You're a young man that doesn't have much experience, and you get indoctrinated into the thinking that women are all the issues in life, that men are the victims, right? It's the reverse of what they're saying. When men ain't shit and men, the patriarchy, you're essentially doing it to yourself. Again, when we laugh at them and call them NPCs, you're becoming an NPC yourself by not thinking, by not keeping an open mind on the world. The message you get from the manosphere content shouldn't be taken as law. First, you need to experience it yourself. Yes, most women, some women, not all women, etc. When you go all women are, understand that you've been indoctrinated. You need to take a break. Yeah, you need to take a break from this kind of content and go out into the real world, essentially touch grass. Don't let any channel, any influencer scare you from experiencing a vibrant life with other human beings. Don't let the black pill thinking seep in. That's where these men, and they use it as a cope too, because these guys put fear in you. It's essentially how the algorithm works, man. You get afraid to talk to women. You get scared into this line of thinking, and then you give up doing it whatsoever. Never do that shit. Always see from yourself, from your own experience. Seek the truth through your own action. On this channel too, don't become hardened into a line of thinking. That's NPC thinking. We're not red pillars. We're not manosphere. We're not going our own way. Don't label yourself into an identity. Don't fall into identity politics. Simply accept that some ideas may coalesce and cross into other communities. Use your brain. Develop your own thinking, your own intuition on life through your own experiences. Simply learn from other people. Just be a man. Yeah, there's no alpha, there's no sigma, there's no red pill. Just be a man. Exactly. Experience the world, guys. Use other men's experiences as a guidance, but never as full truth. Just because somebody tells you the world is a certain way, use that as a barometer for how you move through the world, and then build your own ideals and laws on life. It's all a state of mind. You just have to make a shift in the way you see things. Exactly. The lens from which you view the world has been tainted because of some of the red pill commentators you're watching tell you the world is a certain way through their own experiences, which may not vibe well with yours. Not everybody's been jaded, man. Not everybody's been brokenhearted. Not everybody has seen the worst in the other gender. It's all a matter of perspective. Exactly. Don't let your perspective get tainted from even developing because of any commentator, myself included. Take everything with a grain of salt. Go out into the real world, experience and see, oh yeah, this is what the guy was saying. Oh yeah, that ended up being true. Or no, this ended up not being true. Formulate your own opinions, man. That's what makes you a man. Think for yourself. Don't let these other red pill creators essentially dictate the way you should live your life because of their set experiences.
The body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. At the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Disease and health, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet, and they are continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. The people who live in fear of disease are the people who get it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body and lays it open to the entrance of disease, while impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged,
Stress kills.
will soon shatter the nervous system. Strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. The body is a delicate and plastic instrument which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed.
Yeah, the goal as a man is to have a malleable mind, open to all ideas. Don't hold strong into an ideology, and don't become essentially an NPC that's defending one stance that you've emboldened yourself to because whatever somebody else told you is the experience they're having. For example, black pill thinking. Don't become a defender of an ideology. Maintain an open mind, guys. That's what's most important. That's where the growth happens. Understand that your ideas, your beliefs can be challenged. Open to conversation. Allow yourself to be challenged. Hear everybody's ideas out, everybody's thoughts, and converse with people. Keep conversation open, and then make your own decision. If you start hardening your stance, then you start essentially going down the rabbit hole of said groupthink that is so dangerous today. You become so tribal, right? And that's when you start getting radicalized in thinking. That's where you get what essentially some of these guys said earlier, where they're afraid to go talk to women. They're afraid to even get started because they went down the rabbit hole of, it went from us just talking about how women are to like, all women are this, right? How many comments do you see in some of the videos where these guys are just completely lost? They go, never do this, never do this. Never, bro, really? Never? Your truth has now become the universal law? You mean no other man can have a positive experience with the other sex just because you watched some video and it's confirmed some of your biases, and now you're holding strong to an ideology and you're attacking all other men that are enjoying the opposite of what you're seeing, that's how you get these aggressive, like incel-y type of men. Essentially, it's because their reality is being challenged every day by men who are doing better than them. Don't fall into that trap, guys.
And habits of thought will produce their own effects, good or bad, upon it. Men will continue to have impure and poisoned blood so long as they propagate unclean thoughts. Out of a clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of a defiled mind proceeds a defiled life and a corrupt body. Thought is the fount of action, life, and manifestation. Make the fountain pure, and all will be pure. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. When a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. Clean thoughts make clean habits. The so-called saint who does not wash his body is not a saint. He who has strengthened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe. If you would protect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beautify your mind. Thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency rob the body of its health and grace. A sour face does not come by chance. It is made by sour thoughts. Wrinkles that mar are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. I know a woman of 96 who has the bright, innocent face of a girl. I know a man well under middle age whose face is drawn into inharmonious contours. The one is the result of a sweet and sunny disposition. The other is the outcome of passion and discontent. As you cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your rooms, so a strong body and a bright, happy, or serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill and serenity. On the faces of the aged there are wrinkles made by sympathy, others by strong and pure thought, and others are carved by passion. Who cannot distinguish them? With those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, and softly mellowed like the setting sun. I have recently seen a philosopher on his deathbed. He was not old, except in years. He died as sweetly and peacefully as he had lived. There is no physician like cheerful thought for dissipating the ills of the body. There is no comforter to compare with good will for dispersing the shadows of grief and sorrow. To live continually in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, and envy is to be confined in a self-made prison hole.
Preach.
But to think well of all, to be cheerful with all, to patiently learn to find the good in all, such unselfish thoughts are the very portals of heaven. And to dwell day by day in thoughts of peace toward every creature will bring abounding peace to their possessor. Thought and purpose. Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, all of which are indications of weakness, which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, to failure, unhappiness, and loss. For weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being, but whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty, and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought.
Purpose.
Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness, and believing this truth, that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will, thus believing, at once begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, and strength to strength, will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. Having conceived of his purpose, a man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor the left.
That's where visualization comes in. Imagining yourself after finding your purpose, right? Talk deep. See what's deeply seated in your soul of what you want to accomplish in life. Everybody has an idea, some sort of inkling on what they'd really like to do. Visualize yourself at the very end of what that looks like. Strongly believe in it. If that is your true purpose, your body and your mind will start developing habits to get you there. Automatically, guys. I'm telling you, it's very important. Once you find your purpose, visualization is key. I think this is missing in most men's lives today. Most of us don't have any purpose. Most of us are kind of walking around aimlessly. Society doesn't really have answers for what a man should be today, what a man should do, what he should aspire for. It's quite the opposite. Society today wants you to be weak, wants you to be more feminine, wants you to be less like a boy, wants you to be less competitive, doesn't want you to have big aspirations and goals in life and to do anything in your means to achieve them. If anything, they want you to be a nice little complicit drone in the workforce. Don't think for yourself, just follow directions. All right, they rob you of your creative thinking through social media. They rob you of your masculinity by demonizing what you are as a man. They're essentially creating little drones in the matrix that will never question anything and rise up for nothing. It is very important in society today to retreat within yourself, ignore all the propaganda, ignore all the narratives being spilled into your brain from your cell phone, from your social media, wherever you're getting propagandized from. It's very important to understand that what you're being told is false. Retreat into yourself. Find out who you are as a person and what makes your essentially heart tick. What gets you up out of bed? What excites you? Then you need to visualize that. It's super important to see yourself in the end state. What do you dream of being, guys? What do you dream of? Who is the perfect life, right? Who is that man that's living that in your dreams that you want to become? Visualize that every day. When you wake up, think about that person. When you go to sleep, think about that person. And your brain will automatically start to tweak itself into that direction. Your habits start to follow. Everything you do will start to align. And if you don't align on that path, you're going to feel anxiety. This is where the mind, body, and the spirit start aligning. And this is where true purpose and happiness comes. When all those things are aligned with your self-image, that's when you start to feel purpose, content, happiness, pride. All these things start coming into place when you align all of that. F off. One thing a lot of young men don't know is a man can have multiple purposes. I'm dealing with that now. My main path is being filled, but with more money comes more time to reflect. Be careful. Money and time is very dangerous to us men. Yeah, double-edged sword, right? It's all about how you're aligned internally. If you use that extra time and money that allows you to reflect more and it's focused on negativity, then it'll destroy you. This is how some people get a ton of free time on their hands. You know, devil's playthings, idle hands, that saying. But some people can essentially utilize all that free time for extreme positive thinking, where they can become far greater than they've ever thought possible with all the freedom they've been granted. You can do the same, man. It's how you frame the thinking in your head. If you sit around and think negative thoughts and then money is introduced into your life, you will destroy yourself quickly. This is how, when we see society, like famous people have everything you could have wished for, and people go, how the hell did he F that up? How did he overdose? Why would you even overdose? Dude, you have everything in life. You're the man. And it's like they haven't cleaned their mind. They have impure thoughts. And now you've introduced fame to a person, notoriety, money, which means they can infinitely essentially dive into all their negative virtues, right? Like, imagine you had a drug addiction, but now you have infinite money and time on your hands. What do you think a drug addict is going to do? They're going to indulge to the extremes and overdose. It's a framing in your mind that you have to be cognizant of. Negative versus positive thoughts. Once you achieve a level of success and you do get some money and time on your hands to think and ponder things, it becomes so much more important that the thoughts you have in your mind become positive.
Doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplished anything and never can.
Never.
They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and all strong thoughts cease when doubt and fear creep in. The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, thwarts himself at every step. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Thought, allied fearlessly to purpose, becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. The thought factor in achievement. All that a man achieves, and all that he fails to achieve, is the direct result of his own thoughts.
How would one get an interview for the tribe? Just email me at tribeofmen@yahoo. Email me there and make the title of it interview in caps. Just give me some points on what you want to talk about, your story in life if you want to share that, or if you have a specific topic that you want to cover, you feel it's important for men to see, and we'll schedule an interview.
In a justly ordered universe, where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own, and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another, and they can only be altered by himself, never by another. His condition is also his own, and not another man's. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. A strong man cannot help a weaker unless that weaker is willing to be helped, and even then the weak man must become strong of himself. He must, by his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in another. None but himself can alter his condition. It has been usual for men to think and to say, "Many men are slaves because one is an oppressor. Let us hate the oppressor." Now, however, there is amongst an increasing few a tendency to reverse this judgment and to say, "One man is an oppressor because many are slaves. Let us despise the slaves." The truth is that oppressor and slave are cooperators in ignorance, and, while seeming to afflict each other, are in reality afflicting themselves. A perfect knowledge perceives the action of law in the weakness of the oppressed and the misapplied power of the oppressor. A perfect love, seeing the suffering, which both states entail, condemns neither. A perfect compassion embraces both oppressor and oppressed. He who has conquered weakness and has put away all selfish thoughts belongs neither to oppressor nor oppressed. He is free. A man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserable by refusing to lift up his thoughts. Before a man can achieve anything, even in worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above slavish animal indulgence. He may not, in order to succeed, give up all animality and selfishness by any means, but a portion of it must at least be sacrificed. A man whose first thought is bestial indulgence and would fail in any undertaking. Not having commenced to manfully control his thoughts, he is not in a position to control affairs and to adopt serious responsibilities. He is not fit to act independently and stand alone. But he is limited only by the thoughts which he chooses. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice, and a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thoughts and fixes his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self-reliance. And the higher he lifts his thoughts, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes. The greater will be his success, the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. The universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, the vicious, although on the mere surface it may sometimes appear to do so. It helps the honest, the magnanimous, the virtuous. All the great teachers of the ages have declared this in varying forms, and to prove and know it a man has but to persist in making himself more and more virtuous by lifting up his thoughts. Intellectual achievements are the result of thought consecrated to the search for knowledge, or for the beautiful and true in life and nature. Such achievements may be sometimes connected with vanity and ambition, but they are not the outcome of those characteristics. They are the natural outgrowth of long and arduous effort and of pure and unselfish thoughts. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. He who lives constantly in the conception of noble and lofty thoughts, he who dwells upon all that is pure and unselfish, will, as surely as the sun reaches its zenith and the moon its full, become wise and noble in character, and rise into a position of influence and blessedness. Achievement, of whatever kind, is the crown of effort, the diadem of thought. By the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought, a man ascends. By the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thought, a man descends. A man may rise to high success in the world and even to lofty altitudes in the spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. Victories attained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness. Many give way when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law, and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. Visions and ideals. The dreamers are the saviors of the world. As the visible world is sustained by the invisible, so men, through all their trials and sins and sordid vocations, are nourished by the beautiful visions of their solitary dreamers. Humanity cannot forget its dreamers. It cannot let their ideals fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them as realities, which it shall one day see and know. Composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage. These are the makers of the afterworld, the architects of heaven. The world is beautiful because they have lived. Without them, laboring humanity would perish. He who cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in his heart, will one day realize it. Columbus cherished a vision of another world, and he discovered it. Copernicus fostered the vision of a multiplicity of worlds and a wider universe, and he revealed it. Buddha beheld the vision of a spiritual world of stainless beauty and perfect peace, and he entered into it. Cherish your visions. Cherish your ideals. Cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts, for out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment. Of these, if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built. To desire is to obtain. To aspire is to achieve. Shall man's basest desires receive the fullest measure of gratification, and his purest aspirations starve for lack of sustenance? Such is not the law. Such a condition of things can never obtain. Ask and receive. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. The greatest achievement was at first, and for a time, a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and in the highest vision of the soul a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of realities. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain so if you but perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. You cannot travel within and stand still without. Here is a youth, hard-pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled, and lacking all the arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of, mentally builds up an ideal condition of life. The vision of a wider liberty and a larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action, and he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside, and, with the growth of opportunities which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes out of it forever. Years later we see this youth as a full-grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of the mind which he wields with world-wide influence and almost unequaled power. In his hands he holds the cords of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks, and lo, lives are changed. Men and women hang upon his words and remold their characters, and, sun-like, he becomes the fixed and luminous center round which innumerable destinies revolve. He has realized the vision of his youth. He has become one with his ideal. And you too, youthful listener, will realize the vision, not the idle wish, of your heart, be it base or beautiful, or a mixture of both, for you will always gravitate toward that which you secretly most love. Into your hands will be placed the exact results of your own thoughts. You will receive that which you earn, no more, no less.
No less.
Whatever your present environment may be, you will fall, remain, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, your ideal. You will become as small as your controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspiration. In the beautiful words of Stanton Kirkham Davis, you may be keeping accounts, and presently you shall walk out of the door that for so long has seemed to you the barrier of your ideals, and shall find yourself before an audience, the pen still behind your ear, the ink stains on your fingers, and then and there shall pour out the torrent of your inspiration. You may be driving sheep, and you shall wander to the city bucolic and open-mouthed, shall wander under the intrepid guidance of the Spirit into the studio of the Master, And after a time he shall say, I have nothing more to teach you, and now you have become the master, who did so recently dream of great things while driving sheep. You shall lay down the saw and the plane to take upon yourself the regeneration of the world. The thoughtless, the ignorant, and the indolent, seeing only the apparent effects of things and not the things themselves, talk of luck, of fortune and chance. Seeing a man
He's so lucky he's a Chad. He has it so easy.
grow rich, they say, how lucky he is. Observing another become intellectual, they exclaim, how highly favored he is. And noting the saintly character and wide influence of another, they remark, how chance aids him at every turn.
Why is that guy so lucky? Why did I have such shitty cards dealt in life? Come on, man. This is crazy. This is the line of thinking men are essentially indoctrinated into having.
They do not see the trials and failures and struggles which these men have voluntarily encountered in order to gain their experience, have no knowledge of the sacrifices they have made, of the undaunted efforts they have put forth, of the faith they have exercised, that they might overcome the apparently insurmountable and realize the vision of their heart. They do not know the darkness and the heartaches. They only see the light and joy and call it luck.
Luck. Imagine thinking about your cards in life rather than what is your next move. Yeah, it's a crippling mentality to have. Externalizing your problems. I've been dealt a shitty hand. Why should I try? I've been dealt a shitty hand. I can't possibly make it. Oh, this is just the way life is. Oh, well, some people are luckier than others. No, bro. You can climb out of any hole that you've been dealt in life. We're not all born with silver spoons. Plenty of people have showed you a path and how to make it. You don't have to follow the exact path, but they've paved a way for you that you can split off. You can make your own fork. Go your own way. Luck is opportunity plus preparedness. Exactly. There's others that are willing to grind through. They got a machete in hand going through the jungle, paving their own way in life. Yes, you're going to get cut up. It's going to be a mess getting through all that thick foliage, but you can carve your own way and you can make it. It takes more effort, sure. We're not all born with a nicely paved road with a perfectly pruned environment to just walk and stroll your way through life where daddy can hand you an amazing job at some corporation. We're not all born with that sort of luck, true. But you can blaze your own path. It doesn't mean you don't try. It doesn't mean you accept that wall, that thick jungle and go, that's it. Can't get through that shit. Life hands you a machete. Do you have the willpower as a man to get through it or not? I notice that when I work hard, I get lots of lucky breaks. Exactly. You get so damn lucky the harder you work. It's weird how that is, huh? The harder you work, the more you put in, the luckier you seem to get. Life randomly favors you. It's not an accident. The cuts make you more experienced and stronger. You won't learn anything if it's all smooth sailing. 100% agree. You know, it's the scars that give you the deepest sort of meaning and experience, thoughts, everything in life. That's your strongest reminder of what you've been through. They ground you in life. Man, it's the scars. Hold them dearly. All the hardships you have in life, the worst things you've been through, it's what makes you an individual. It's what makes you you. It's what brings out your uniqueness, your perspective. You shouldn't run away from all the things you've experienced in life that you try to bury deep. Make that part of your identity, man. That's power. All the scars, psychological and physical, is what makes you an incredible person in life. That's experience. Don't hide from that. A lot of people try to push that down psychologically. You know, all the trauma you face as a kid, as an adult, etc. They try to hide from it. And in turn, you blunt who you are to the world. You become an empty shell, a blank slate. Worse than a blank slate. You're essentially a hermit, man. You never share the beauty that is you with the world.
They do not see the long and arduous journey, but only behold the pleasant goal and call it good fortune. Do not understand the process, but only perceive the result and call it chance. In all human affairs, there are efforts and there are results, and the strength of the effort is the measure of the result. Chance is not. Gifts, powers, material, intellectual, and spiritual possessions are the fruits of effort. They are thoughts completed, objects accomplished, visions real.
I have a simple equation I keep citing. I don't know where I read it or if I came up with it, but time plus effort equals undefeated. No one has ever lost when they put in proper time and proper effort in achieving their goals. Not a single man in the history of men has a man failed when he put in the proper time and effort. You will be undefeated when you combine those two. If you put in the time and not enough effort, the equation fails. You don't get the success. Likewise, if you put in a ton of effort, not enough time, you will fail also. Combine those two and you will be undefeated in everything you chase in life, anything you pursue.
Realized, the vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by. This you will become. Serenity. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. A man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought-evolved being, for such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve, and remains poised, steadfast, serene.
I have always done what I wanted to do in life. I got bored with it. So I learned how to be a goldsmith from YouTube. Bo knows what he's talking about. This is why I see you as an equal, brother. Thank you so much for the 50, dude. I love that mentality. Never liked weak men in my life. You're the author of your own destiny. Like As a Man Think It says. Everything, your circumstance in life is a culmination of all the actions you've taken up until that very point. You are responsible for your circumstances, boys and girls. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's why these channels today have gotten so popular so quickly, because they're lying to your face. They tell you to blame women for this. They tell you to blame the system for this, but they won't tell you the truth, that you are exactly where you deserve to be in life. No one will tell you that. Everybody is going to coddle you and try to confirm your bias and tell you that, no, brother, you can't get a date because all women are. You can't succeed in business because the system. You can't do whatever it is that you can't do because insert external excuse. They won't tell you that you need to read more. They won't tell you that you need to work on your image more. They won't tell you that you need to work on your body, your mind, your spirit. They won't tell you that you need to advance in life. Then you need to become a more interesting person. Then you need to go out into the world and experience more things. They won't tell you any of this. They'll just tell you blame women, blame men. The same message they tell women, that men ain't shit. It's not your fault, sis. It's men that are the problem. It's not your fault, boys. It's women that are the problem. It's the same bullshit shoved down your throat to make you content with where you are. Blame everybody else and not advance in life. That's what we're doing here as men. This is what you call self-improvement. This is the male space where we externalize problems, boys. Come on. We are the authors of our own destiny. The power is in your hands right here, dude. This is ultimate God-given ability right here in these two. These affect the most change. Don't let the world and any other fucking channel tell you that it's hopeless, that you cannot affect change in your life, like you can't do nothing. These right here have the power to change everything. Once you understand that, you start to move a different way through life. Your circumstances, all this shit, it doesn't matter. You were born with less than ideal circumstances in life. Doesn't matter. You got time and effort. That's all the universe requires of you. F off, you're a maniac, dude. Thank you so much. This is one of the differences with men from single mothers and men from single fathers. None of this baby whatever crap. There is either your mom or dad. Oh, that's either your mom or dad. Yeah, dude. Unfortunately, a lot of men don't have a masculine presence today, and they're raised in a very feminized household that tries to protect them instead of arming them to deal with the world. They have no boundaries. They have no discipline instilled into them that the father normally would. Yeah, they're not taught how to get back up after falling down. Instead, put a Band-Aid on it. It's okay, baby. Shield yourself. Go back in your room. The world is a dangerous place. Don't bother venturing out. It's a dangerous message to tell a young boy. And that kind of thing sticks to a young man growing up into the world, man. Join, and this is why. Thank you so much, Alex. Join the Spartan Challenge, guys, if you haven't already. Watch the video. It's just a very simple 6-month challenge that tells you 6 simple tenets you need to live by, and it will expose you to yourself. It'll show you how strong or how weak you really are. It's just asking very basic things of what a man needs to do, only for 6 months. That's it, guys. And if you can complete the challenge in full, you'll come off 1,000 times better than you ever expected. You'll start to open your eyes to the truth that you've been fed a bunch of bullshit from society. Who's this dude? Why is he in my suggested videos? Cocky go, you better start watching some videos then. Better start enlightening yourself. You just stumbled upon some gold, brother. Boy Scouts, helpful at any age. Yes, and notice that Boy Scouts is about men coming together, young boys, having a mentor, older men, teaching you about survival, about how you should lead your life, virtues and values, teamwork, your tribe, right? Where is that message today?
The calm man, having learned
We're
how
building
to govern
it right
himself, knows how to adapt himself to others, and they, in turn, reverence his spiritual strength and feel that they can learn of him and rely upon him. The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good. Even the ordinary trader will find his business prosperity increase as he develops a greater self-control and equanimity. For people will always prefer to deal with a man whose demeanor is strongly equable. The strong, calm man is always loved and revered. He is like a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land, or a sheltering rock in a storm. Who does not love a tranquil heart, a sweet-tempered, balanced life? It does not matter whether it rains or shines, or what changes come to those possessing these blessings, for they are always sweet, serene, and calm. That exquisite poise of character, which we call serenity, is the last lesson of culture, the fruitage of the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold, yea, than even fine gold. How insignificant mere money-seeking looks in comparison with a serene life, a life that dwells in the ocean of truth, beneath the waves, beyond the reach of tempests, in the eternal calm. How many people we know who sour their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, who destroy their poise of character and make bad blood. It is a question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their lives and mar their happiness by lack of self-control. How few people we meet in life who are well-balanced, who have that exquisite poise which is characteristic of the finished character. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever you may be, under whatsoever conditions you may live, know this: in the ocean of life the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does but sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace. Be still.
How do I get rid of my negative thoughts? It's something you practice every single day. This is the power of affirmations. They sound really stupid to repeat little positive things like, I am the best. I do deserve this. I will succeed. It's not that those are magical in and of themselves. It's a small training exercise that when your mind starts running wild with negativity, right? Because a lot of people don't have experience, or we have never been taught how important positive thinking is. You essentially need to instill it into yourself. Affirmations are an incredible way to shift your mentality into waking up with positive thinking. Instead of saying, I don't deserve this, who the hell would listen to me? Why should I even try? I'm a moron. I'm an idiot. Start to shift that. You wake up in the morning, the negativity sets in. Pause. Start to think. I understand what I'm doing. My brain is being stupid. I need to stop. This is not helping me at all. And then you start to repeat these positive affirmations. I am the best. I am worthy. I can do this. Today I will succeed. I am the chosen one. The universe is behind me. No matter how I move in the world, no matter what I do, I will make it. If you start to think this way, you'll start to really believe this eventually. You have to think, even though you don't believe it, you have to start thinking this constantly every day. It start to become a belief. And through those beliefs, you'll start acting in that manner positively. And then everything else opens up to you. It becomes a part of your frame. Formister, that's a great way to put it. You need to internalize this to such a deep manner that it becomes a part of your frame. This is how you think naturally. Today's exercise will make me a better man. Exactly. In the very beginning, you will not believe any of this, and that's not the point. Affirming to yourself isn't that you believe what you're saying. The real power in affirmations is that one day you will no longer have to consciously put yourself in positive thinking. You will be a positive thinker. That's the power. It's just in the beginning, it's a lot of work, like going to the gym when you're, day one. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't know how to exercise. You don't know how to get through a whole program. You just know if you keep showing up, eventually you'll become well-versed to the point where it's automatic. It's the same thing with your brain and your thoughts. You just have to keep affirming. You have to keep catching yourself in negative thinking. You have to keep putting a stop on your brain, that little voice in your head that goes negative. It's a mind exercise, exactly. Says, should dark triad traits be fostered or suppressed? They seem beneficial for personal gain. If you have to ask that question, you're not actually a dark triad psychological type. Those people absolutely don't have feelings and will go to any length for personal gain. If you have to ask that question, then you feel conflicted about being, quote, dark triad. You're not psychopathic in that sense. So if you try to be said person, it will destroy you eventually. You sound like you still have a sort of moral friction to that kind of thinking. Dark triads don't think they're dark triads. They just take at all costs. F off. Damn, what he just said about you create who you are and the life you have is so spot on. Yeah, man. This, one of my really good friends, consider him a brother, showed me As a Man Thinketh when we went hiking and took some shroomies and just sat in the car. It's literally like a 2-hour drive to the hiking spot and just blasted this. Not a peep from anybody. Just like 6 dudes in a car listening to As a Man Thinketh and just soaking in all the wisdom. It's super powerful. I listen to this to remind myself once a month at least that I control everything that happens to me. Nothing is an accident. And the power in that is that you can change and alter the course of what you would say destiny in the world is. That the world can't control where you end up, only you, and that there's power in positive thinking. There is ultimate strength in self-belief, and that when you combine all these time and effort, you will get to exactly where you deserve to be in life, which is your wildest imaginations. Let's chill out and talk with the chat. Nothing good is easy, preach. Nothing good in life is ever easy, brother. That's what makes it good, because it's hard to attain. Yeah, if you haven't also joined the locals, I just put out another episode today that many people haven't seen with a good friend of mine, Keith. Tremendous. That's available to everybody on locals. You just have to become a member. That's it. Just sign up. Supporters, of course, will get exclusive content, and I greatly appreciate you guys. Everybody in the chat who's donated, thank you so much. It makes a tremendous difference, and it keeps the message going forward, whether or not YouTube agrees with our message. The toxic masculinity. Helping men empower themselves. Super toxic.